This is Real Turkey channel, broadcasting in English from a humble house, as you see, because even though there are no cases of coronavirus in Turkey, officially speaking, one can never be cautious enough. Therefore, I am self-quarantining myself in my home and refusing all human contact, which is something I have done through the first 60 years of my life anyhow, so it doesn't impose an extra burden on me. Unfortunately, because of the Idlib war and the refugee crises, Real Turkey channel had to focus on politics and recent broadcasts. I feel we have missed a lot on the economy that needs to be discussed. And in this video, in the context of the corona again, without which it's impossible to discuss anything nowadays, I wish to explain where Turkish economy stands and how corona reverberates in economic performance, even though officially it's not here. Now, first of all, let's start with the statement, officially it's not here. Real Turkey has the principle of being frank and outspoken, but we don't speculate on medical matters or on matters that we don't understand, such as religion. Therefore, even though there are a lot of rumors, purported videos of corona patients circulating the social media, I stick to the official position of our health minister, Mr. Fahrettin Koca, that there are no cases, but it is possible that we will soon have COVID-19 visiting Turkey. In this video, I discuss a scenario where miraculously, or because we Turks are extraordinarily brave and strong and have evolved not from apes but from wolves, have different genetics, and thereby will avert the corona infection and discuss the economic implications of such a good case scenario. If corona ever arrives in Turkey, God forbid, then I shall make another video. But it goes without saying, any country that has a significant number of corona cases may not suffer from actual production breakdowns or even the nowadays very common travel restrictions, either imposed by the country's own government or by other countries upon the country where corona is diagnosed. There is the public morale issue. People are so afraid of this disease, partly because of the media hype, that they shun public places, public events, restaurants, hotels, travel, etc., etc. So, there is some kind of an economic damage even in this case. Let me continue by describing the state of the Turkish economy before the corona scare started and began to hurt the European and Middle East economies, which are our main trading partners. I'm going by the official data. Economic activity has recovered somewhat in the fourth quarter of 2019, and it shall probably further do so in the first quarter of 2020, because we have this wild and crazy credit boom, with consumer loans in particular rising at an annualized rate of 50% per annum. And obviously, if people are taking out loans, they intend to spend it, and the spending is good for national income. But this kind of growth is not sustainable because obviously, if you keep handing out loans to every consumer who comes to a bank branch, eventually you have a non-performing loans problem, or banks run out of deposits and capital to issue more loans, and the economy suffers from a sudden stop syndrome. As well, confidence in economic future remains extremely low. I have surveyed at least 10 polls, all of which reveal that the satisfaction with the economy has actually increased over the last quarter of last year and in the first 2 months of 2020, which is kind of odd given that economic activity officially is accelerating and consumers are taking out these loans. But again, I'm not going to argue with that. I'll take it as a fact that this crisis, the corona crisis, caught Turkey at a time when its economy was accelerating. Unfortunately, such acceleration has immediately created side effects, as many medicines do. Turkish CPI rose to something like 12.75% in February, and we economists detect a huge amount of stickiness, which is that inflation not being responsive to economic conditions, in particular in services. So, if economy accelerates further, inflation will go through the roof. Two, trade deficits. In 2009, which is a very rare phenomenon, Turkey recorded a current account deficit, a current account surplus. As of November, the monthly surpluses in current account diminished. For the first 2 months of this year, we have only trade deficit data, not tourism data, which completes the current account equation. But trade deficits are increasing. So immediately, Turkey growing means Turkey importing more. And more damagingly, if you look at the breakdown of what we import, energy, obviously, you can't avoid it. Turkey doesn't have any natural energy sources. Renewables, yes, but not hydrocarbons. Investment goods imports are declining, but consumption goods imports are soaring, which is really bad. I mean, it shows that this consumer loan boom is going to the wrong places. So, just to make a long story short, by the time coronavirus became the leading concern of economists and investors alike, Turkish economy was already losing its balance. That is, it was producing too many side effects or undesirable byproducts for the amount of growth it produced. Now we have corona surrounding us. Greece has it, Iran, very sad case, almost lost. It's a wilderness out there. Iraq has it, Syria probably has it, but no one bothers to count. Most of the European countries do have it, although the severity differs from country to country. I think Italy is right now the epicenter of the coronavirus. In the Middle East, numbers are proliferating. I would take the numbers with some caution in countries of Middle East because health services are poor and there's almost no screening. So the first, let me analyze the impact of coronavirus on Turkey from this trade channel, logistics, and finally financial markets. From trade, the fact that EU slows down is extremely damaging to Turkey's exports because 50% of them are destined for EU. The same goes for Middle East. If Middle East economies, demand in Middle East is declining, that puts in jeopardy 25% of Turkish exports. As I've said already, Iran and soon possibly Iraqi markets will be lost. Iran is not a huge destination for exports, but Iraq is, and the decline in Iraqi incomes will be devastating for Turkish exporters. Obviously, logistics is suffering a lot. That's cargo shipments. If you're not exporting, then you're not renting enough 16-wheelers or long haulers or containers to ship these exports. Import growth potential partly compensates for this effect, but nevertheless, logistics sector is going to suffer quite a bit. Tourism is the big issue. Even if there is no coronavirus in Turkey, the reports I read about the international tourism industry suggest that many people are afraid of going abroad, lest suddenly that country reports corona cases and they are stuck in that country. Cross-border tourism has declined substantially. In fact, today, a small airline or medium-sized airline in Britain declared bankruptcy. But more importantly for Turkey, reservations are declining. I have consulted some of my friends in the tourism industry who tell me that reservation cancellations are running at a pace of 30-35%. If Corona doesn't arrive in Turkey, or if it calms down across the world, tourists will still come in the summer. But there is a very big revenue difference between tourists who come through reservations, who pay almost the full price, and the last second tourists whose agencies arm twist Turkish hotels and resorts into deep discounts. So, reservation cancellations are extremely damaging to the industry. To make a simple calculation, we're expecting 50 million tourists this year and roughly $30 billion of revenue. If realistically speaking, if you lose a third of that, then, your current account deficit goes up by $10 billion vis-a-vis the projections, and financing that is going to put tremendous pressure on the currency. And finally, the financial channel. Obviously, Fed cutting rates is a good thing. It's better than nothing. Maybe the European Central Bank will join it. But it's not pushing money into emerging markets. There is a flight from risk. Even though Fed is cutting interest rates, the money is not going to risky markets like Turkey, but it's going into American government bonds, German bonds, UK gilts, which are considered relatively safe from the viewpoint of repayment, and finally gold. So the fact that the dollar is weaker or the interest rates are lower, which at usual times are a huge bonus for Turkish economy, isn't really helping much. The best I can say is that lower dollar, lower American rates prevent the worst in terms of exchange rate depreciation. All in all, even though Corona is not here, it has struck the world at a time when Turkish economy was losing its balance and losing its rigor or vigor, and operations of Corona from abroad are very likely to add to the woes of the Turkish economy. This is a scenario where Corona doesn't arrive in Turkey. If it does, then obviously things will get worse, much worse. Bye-bye now. This is Atilla Eşilada from Real Turkey channel. And if you like us, if you like the house, you can put a thumbs up, subscribe, send it to friends, or buy the house, which is on sale. Bye-bye now.